My name is Christian Barker. I'm going to be taking you through an all-time classic chub bait cheese paste. We've got some great new products here to share with you, and one of those is something here by a company called Laguna. It's a sack juice. The sack stands for soak and coat. It's here described as a bait indicator, and the one we're using today is the blue cheese special edition. It's not an artificial flavour. In fact, it's actually made from blue cheese, and that's one of the main reasons that I became really interested in this particular stuff. It's a glycerite and it's pre-digested. Now the pre-digest process, I understand, is done with enzymes. So what that's done, you've got the cheese, it's been broken down, you've actually made lots of amino acids and other soluble attractants available to the fish. And this is certainly the way that fish can detect things in very minute quantities. So that's our blue cheese sack juice. I mean, I could add another thing, due to the fact it's got glycerine in it. It's actually weathered, it's proof down to resist freezing down at temperatures of -46. Now obviously we're not Eskimos and we're not going to be doing ice fishing for our chub most of the year, but it does give you an idea that it's going to remain soluble at very low condition or low temperature water conditions. The other product here I'll be using is something by the hook bait company called Big Cheese. Now the Big Cheese is really a base mix based on their very successful milk protein powder called Milk Pro. It's a fantastic little product, and I'll be sharing you a little bit more about that in a moment. So let's get started. Okay, one of the things I do like to do is, if I'm going to be making paste, I prefer to leave the eggs out. The reason I do that, it just happens to make the paste much more soluble. It enables the attractants to leach out just that little bit easier. And well, the reason I'm using this as opposed to a pastry is I want to keep the fat content down as much as possible. Blue cheese sack activator, 25ml. I've got some of that already watered down here with 2 parts water. So that's what we're going to start off with here. Blue cheese sack. To that we're going to add about 20 to 30ml of the big cheese flavour. That's a lovely creamy smell. I think Darren from the Hook Bait Company's got that smell absolutely spot on. It's a blue cheese and it's got some N-butyric acid which really cuts through. Just give that a quick stir. Now the problem with not using eggs in a base mix is it's difficult to get the paste to actually bind. So what I need to add to that is just a little glug of vegetable oil. That's that. Now the first thing we do is we add the powder, and we want to make a nice stiff paste. Now for many years I have made cheese paste using pastry, and to be fair I had lots of chub on it. But I was also aware it wasn't exactly ideal. In fact, there was lots of problems using it in really cold temperatures. In fact, looking back, I was actually thinking that sometimes, well, if it was too cold, you never actually used it. You was using bread and things like that. But if you did, it could impede on the hook because it just goes solid. So using a milk protein paste like this is just a really good way of keeping that fat content a little bit lower. That's about right. There you go, and that's one of the initial problems really of not using eggs. It is difficult to get a paste like a milk protein to actually bind together in such a way that you can get it to stay on the hook. Actually reeks of cheese. It's fantastic. Well, that's not a problem because we're going to use this in a way, in the traditional sense, instead of the pastry. So what I can add to that now is some grated cheddar, and of course my favourite cheeses, the blue cheeses. Here's some blue cheese, Danish blue. I never really feel the need to actually grate this, I just use it with my fingers, something like that. Now I tend to usually get these when they're on special offer from the supermarket, or I get some old out of code cheese. It doesn't matter at this point whether it's fresh or not. Well, the hard work's about to start in a moment. Ah, here we go. We've got some, this is an English Stilton, I think it is. I don't really want to lose this lovely mould off the back here, because I'm sure those microorganisms have been spending a lot of time actually maturing this cheese and giving it that distinctive tangy flavour. But it's difficult to put that in there without sort of grating it off first. So I'm just going to quickly grate that rind off. I certainly don't think that's going to do any harm. I'll take the lumps out, no any lumps. My cheese paste there. If you think about it, all those little microorganisms in those cheese have been breaking down that milk over the past few months, and they've really been freeing up all the nutrients in that milk and making it, you know, the essential ingredients there for chub. The sort of kind of things that they seem to like. There, I'll just crumb that up. Now this is where the hard work actually starts now, because what we have to do is combine these pastes together in such a way that you remove all the lumps and bumps. Now you don't really want lumpy cheese paste. One of the problems with cheese paste is if you get a nice or a nasty lump of cheese and you put a bait on your hook and you strike through and the fish has picked the bait up, you don't want that impeding the hook. Now I don't know about your cheese paste, so I make mine slightly different every single time, and there's no real sort of nuts and bolts to this. Just getting something that you feel happy with. And at the moment, I'll say that's a little bit on the soft side, so what I can always do is keep adding some more of the base mix to get the consistency that I'm after. Now, if we overdo it with the powder, we can always add a little few drops of water. Now I'm going to show you with you some of the reasons why I use the milk protein, or the Big Cheese Milk Pro, as opposed to a pastry, or indeed just plain cheese, in a moment. Now the kind of things I was thinking about, I tend to use my cheese paste as single hook baits, and if I'm using single hook baits, your bait's got a lot of work to do. It needs to be soluble, it needs to be able to leach off those attractants so the chub can home in on the smell and the bits and pieces that they're attracted to. And finally, it needs to be soft enough so when you do strike through, you're not going to have any problems. Now we're getting a paste here which is actually approaching something like perfect. So you might think it's an awful lot of effort and hassle to go to make cheese paste. Well, I don't think so. I think fundamentally, with the blue cheese sack juice, you've got a highly soluble cheese product with 10 essential amino acids that chub definitely need. It's like a high nutritional value bait in a bottle. That's going to be leaking out of this paste as soon as it hits the water. It hasn't got a fat content or a high oil content due to the milk protein, so it's going to remain highly soluble. In fact, the milk protein is going to be dissolving and sending off a slick of attractants downstream to draw chub to your bait. And it's solved a lot of the problems for me. Frankly, cheese paste for me has always been a coloured water bait when it's been a little bit milder in the winter, and that seems to be when it seems to work at its best. Now, combining this blue cheese sack juice and the Hook Bait Company Big Cheese, I've got something that I feel 100% confident using in even the coldest of weather conditions. This stuff is not going to get hard. This stuff is not going to go solid, so when you strike through, the fish is going to be able to sort of bung that hook. This is about as good or about as perfect a cheese paste as I think you could possibly imagine. And finally, it absolutely reeks of cheese. So there you go, that's my take on a modern cheese paste. And does it work? Well, I came back last night from fishing my local river, and I had my 70th chub over £4 this year. And I have to say, this is one of the baits that I've been getting, and a lot of those chub in the cold water conditions. It is absolutely fantastic, and recommend it 100%. Why don't you have a go, or give it a go? There's blue cheese, Laguna sack juice, and Hook Bait Company big cheese base mix. An awesome combination.